All right, let's just jump right into this because we're about to unpack one of the wildest ecological stories you've ever heard. It's all about one animal, an animal that is somehow both a destructive plague and an environmental hero. I know, it sounds like it makes no sense, but stick with me, it's absolutely real.
I mean, just look at this. On one side, you have Australia, where 200 million rabbits are literally a plague, tearing up the landscape. They're officially a destructive creature. But then you look at China, and they've been importing millions of these exact same animals for what they called an unusual experiment. How can that be? It's the same animal.
So, yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth can the same creature be a total nightmare in one part of the world and a miracle worker in another? Well, the answer is pretty incredible. It involves some serious ingenuity, a bit of desperation, and a completely fresh way of looking at nature itself.
To figure out how they pulled this off, we've got to go back to the beginning, to the problem itself. And our story starts in one of the toughest environments you could imagine, a place that people used to call the Sea of Death.
The big bad guy in this story is something called desertification. Basically, it's when a desert goes on the attack, expanding and just swallowing up good, fertile land. And one of the biggest battlegrounds for this was China's Kubuchi Desert. And when I say this was a huge problem, I am not kidding. At its worst, the Kubuchi was eating up 500,000 acres of usable land every single year. Think about that. It was this unstoppable wave of sand, and for decades, it just felt like the desert was winning.
But then, this one guy, an entrepreneur named Wang Wenbiao, he comes along and decides to pour his own money into an idea that, honestly, sounded pretty crazy at the time. Everybody else saw a lost cause. He saw a chance to try something totally different.
So here's what he did. His teams went out onto these massive, shifting sand dunes and laid down these huge grids made of straw. And right in the middle of each square, they planted a little willow sapling. It was so simple, but so smart. The straw grid acted like a tiny wall, shielding the baby trees from the wind and, most importantly, trapping any little bit of moisture in the sand. And you know what? It worked. The trees started to grow. But like in any good story, solving one problem just created a whole new one. See, for these trees to be useful for making paper or furniture, you have to keep pruning the little shoots off the side so the main trunk gets nice and thick. Trying to do that by hand across a giant desert? Well, it was practically impossible and way too expensive. So the whole project is kind of on the brink, right? They need a breakthrough, something that could solve this maintenance problem without breaking the bank. And that's when our furry little hero hops onto the scene.
And the answer wasn't some high-tech machine or a massive government grant. Nope. It was small, it was furry, and it was totally out of left field. The Rex rabbit. Now, this is a special breed that's famous for its super soft, really valuable fur. They weren't brought in to be food, they were brought in to solve a puzzle.
And this is where the genius of the plan really clicks into place. They created this perfect self-sustaining loop. First, the rabbits loved to nibble on those new willow shoots, which is the exact pruning the trees needed. This forces the main trunk to grow thicker, making it perfect for industry. Then the rabbit waste acts as a natural fertilizer for the sand. And get this, the rabbits can't fully digest grass seeds, so they passed right through them, and the rabbits ended up planting new vegetation all over the desert. They were walking, hopping little tree trimmers and seed planters. So just think about what they created here. It wasn't just about saving the desert. This was a whole new eco-economic engine. They got free labor from the rabbits, who did all the pruning. They got free, high-quality fertilizer from the rabbit waste. They got a whole new revenue stream from selling the valuable rabbit fur. And since one female rabbit can have around 50 babies a year, the whole thing could scale up incredibly fast.
So with this incredible system in place, well, things started to change. And not just a little bit. They began to turn the whole thing around, transforming this desert into something nobody thought possible.
The results are just wow. After 30 years, over 6,000 square kilometers of the Kubuchi Desert, that's a third of the whole thing, is now green. A place they called the Sea of Death is now alive.
And this isn't just about trees and grass. This is about people. You had families who had been fleeing this area for generations, and suddenly they had a reason to come back. The average income for a local farmer shot up to almost $10,000 a year. They created prosperity where there used to be nothing but sand. All told, we're talking about an estimated 100,000 lives completely turned around by this new green economy. It's not just about reclaiming land. It's about rebuilding entire communities, all thanks to this wild partnership with nature. But they didn't just stop there. Oh no, the innovation kept going. They looked at all this reclaimed land and thought, okay, what's next? Well, next was building the world's largest solar panel image, a giant horse right in the middle of the desert.
And again, this isn't just about making power. It's another brilliant piece of the ecosystem. The solar panels create shade, which means less water evaporates, so you can grow grass underneath them. And who takes care of that grass? You guessed it, more rabbits. The panels also slow down the wind, and the whole thing generates clean energy while actively fighting back against the desert. It's all connected.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. Let's go back to that paradox we started with, because this amazing story gives us a really clear answer and a huge lesson for all of us.
So, why are rabbits a disaster in Australia but a lifesaver in China? It all comes down to one thing: control, a system. In Australia, they were just let loose, an invasive species in an uncontrolled environment, breeding like crazy. But in China, they were a tool. They were a piece of a carefully designed closed-loop system where their natural instincts actually served a specific purpose.
The message here is so powerful, and this quote really says it all. When we decide to work with nature's patterns instead of just fighting against them, even the most hopeless-looking places can come back to life. And that's what I want to leave you with. The story of the Kubuchi proves that the problems that seem completely impossible maybe aren't. It just makes you wonder, right? If we can turn a sea of death into a garden of life, what's the next impossible thing we can solve?